no, you need to understand how you can work in connection with one another so that you can get the best product and be consistent with it out there. So yeah, I think Poles, for the issues I have with him, I don't think he's an obstinate person. I don't think he lives in obstinacy. And I think he was humbled. At least I'd like to believe that he was after this past season. And so, I don't think he has that extra leg to stand on in terms of, being hubristic like he was this past season. And so having Ben Johnson come in and then probably his own, and I'm sure like I guess whatever extensions they made with him, but there's still that era of the next person to go is you if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to work well with. I think he's definitely motivated to work well with Ben.
And I refuse to believe that he refused
collaboration. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry. Go ahead, Foster.
No, I was just going to say it should be an interesting collaboration because I think that's really what it has to be successful. And I think Cliff said it in the chat. Poles, why wouldn't he seriously consider anybody that his new head coach is recommending that they look at, whether it's in free agency or draft? You got to at least look. And that's the one thing that I've always loved about Poles. It appears that he's always searching and always looking at talent. Because in this business, you have to.
I think he was set on the quarterback he chose. But yes, probably aside from that, maybe with the exception of that.
Still might be looking for a backup, though. Somebody who's been around the game a little more than Bagent, but I mean, we got him for another year.
I think they need a veteran.
To me, Bagent has got to be traded this offseason.
Traded for what? What are you going to get for him?
Who cares? What he was an undrafted free agent. He's not going to sign with us again next year as our backup. He's going to, if anyone gives him a chance to compete, he's out of here.
Remember what I told you, Shorty? Don't believe everything that you think.
All right, I won't.
If I'm a team, and it's no shade to Bagent, but if I'm a team, I'm not trading for him. I'll just wait till he's available. I'm going to give up a draft pick for a guy that came from Shepherd.
What if you're a team that needs a quarterback?
He's only played 4 games, and he went 2-2, and it wasn't like he set the world on fire. I think he had more interceptions and touchdown passes. He was a rookie. I'm not knocking him. What I'm saying is it doesn't make sense to trade for someone. There's no value at this point. What am I trading for?
Damn it, Glenn. All right.
You don't know exactly what you have.
Always shut me down.
I know that it's not anything I need to trade for. You can't tell me you can't find another quarterback who's in free agency that you can get now without having to trade for, that you don't have to necessarily pay a lot to get.
Fair enough. So we'll lose them for nothing.
You may have got nothing. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. That's how the song goes.
Chad, I'm going to get to that in a moment. Let's bring on the man that is not worthy, Adam Mason.
Shorty, I'm laughing at you, just so you know. I'm laughing at you right now. I always have fun with BCP, though. And Glenn, my first introduction to you, I very, very honored to be here with you. And
dude, stop it. It's all
just
me.
So you know, I actually put my pant legs on 2 times. I jumped into them just like you do.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
They're just so freaking special. I got to believe.
No, for real, Adam, dude, you do. The following you, man. Great work, dude. I'm always, like, yep. I'm agreeing like 9 out of 10 times. I'm agreeing, and the only time I'm not is like, I gotta think about that one. So yeah, you always make us think, man, and I appreciate that the most, man. You're so consistent and thorough, and you being thorough is the thing that shines through the most, man. I appreciate all the work and effort you put into it, the numbers, the digging, the passion comes forward all the time, man. So thank you for being you, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
I appreciate it
as a fan, I'm saying, for real.
Absolutely. And Adam, I just want to say, cut it out because you're making the rest of us look like a bunch.
I know shit. Over 10,000 subscribers in like 6 months. We've been doing this for 3 years.
I'm totally joking.
It's fun for me. It's a passion. I never expected to do this thing, but watching Glenn, you're one of the few in Bears media that I actually agree with most of the time. I watched you on NBC, and I watched some of these other guys, and I'm just like, you're just regurgitating that from somewhere else. That's not your own thought. But with you, I was excited to come and chat with you a little bit. So this is fun.
Thanks, bro. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And Shorty, I got a hit right off the bat. I mean, you bring this up. I have to tell you, outside of the Bears world, I don't think the rest of the NFL views Tyson Bagent the way that you view Tyson Bagent, buddy. And I'm glad he's our backup. But if I'm making a prediction, I think he will re-sign with us, and I think he'll re-sign with us for cheap next year. There's going to be a lot of free agents next year in the next couple of years that there's more desirable prospects. We might be able to keep him for cheap.
48 minutes and 30 seconds, Carl. No, I mean,
it's a great story. He's a nice guy.
Going off of the second string quarterback fatigue that I have, the second string quarterback PTSD that I just am naturally ingrained with as being a lifelong Bears fan. But to me, he is probably just that, So,
well, it's a great story. His football acumen, it shows forth. I mean, he knows where to go with the ball. I think he's a quick study. I think he gets rid of the ball in a decent amount of time. He's got a nice release. Everything structurally is there. He doesn't have a big arm. His deep ball passing, they tend to hang a bit. And in the NFL, that can get you got with the talent that's out there. I think he would, if I could see him, like if he went to New Orleans and was like a backup there somewhere in the dome, or somewhere, if he's playing behind Stroud, or somewhere where the weather isn't as much of an issue, or maybe he goes to the Rams and he can really, maybe he gets a situation where he plays 3-4 games because the quarterback ahead of him gets hurt, but he really is able to show something that might improve his stock. But right now, I just, like Adam's just saying, it's like there are so many other quarterbacks who have a better body of work, have a body of work that they can look at it and know exactly what they're getting. I think with Tyson, we're enamored, with the story, but beyond that, we haven't been able to see much. And in this day and age, your draft picks, even the 7th round draft picks, still have some value. People just want to give them away.
And remember that he will have been in the quarterback room. He'll have repertoire, but he'll have a camaraderie. He'll have, the system with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. But because he was an undrafted free agent, he will be a restricted free agent. So if anybody, offers him $1.5 million, $2 million, and we really want to keep him, we can just match it and keep him next year. So
that's a good point.
I don't think he's necessarily going anywhere, but we can still keep him for cheap. If somebody else wants to offer him a contract and we want to keep him, we can still keep him.
Well, shouldn't we, or is it already too late? Go and get a veteran quarterback to back up Caleb to help him with the game, or is it too late for that because it's already been a year? If all reports are correct, not only was his offensive coordinator not going over game film with him, but he had a second-year quarterback backing him up, trying to help him with the game. So it was kind of where I thought, well, somebody gives us even a 5th rounder or a 6th rounder for him. It's more than we invested in him.
I don't think it's ever too late to necessarily, because Caleb's still a young quarterback. I'll give you an example. Someone I thought they should have kept was like Brett Rippon. I mean, someone like him who's been around could be the veteran. Again, you're not bringing him in necessarily to start, but you're bringing him in to be that coach who has a real time experience on the field, something that Caleb, and granted, Caleb, he survived a year, a very dysfunctional year. And so he, learned a lot, but I still think you have someone who you can bounce stuff off of, who's a player, not a coach, someone who can understand physically what you're going through, physically what you might need to do to have success on the field, someone who can see it the same way at field level, real time, as opposed to a coach who may be in the booth, or a coach may be on the sidelines, or a coach who's seeing it schematically in his head. Doesn't necessarily mean it's playing out the same way, and or a quarterback who's played against the competition that you're playing. So they have a better understanding of, like, when this guy goes this way, hey, when you play Myles Garrett, expect this, or whatever the case might be. So I don't think it's ever too late. Maybe when I say too late, I'm talking about in his first contract. As a young player, maybe by his 4th or 5th year, at that point, you're not necessarily getting a quarterback who is going to necessarily be that veteran he bounces stuff off of, as opposed to someone who is in true sense a backup, someone who's backing up the starter, someone like it's like so. For example, like Josh Allen, does he need someone like to bounce stuff off of right now? No, not really. But you want to have a backup who, in case Josh gets hurt, he can come in, he can provide you, XYZ on the field. So I want to see once you get around your fourth, fifth year and you've had, some success, or you've played X amount of games under your belt. I think at that point, as a veteran and whatever your maturation level has been out there on the field, you can move past a certain quarterback that's there to kind of, be a sounding board in terms of, I don't want to say holding your hand, but helping you along. Because Caleb still hasn't played 30 games yet. To me, at the very least, you want to have a good, 2 years, so to speak, under your belt before I start calling you that veteran, because it's still a lot you haven't experienced yet. That's just how I look at it. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just how I see it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's the problem. I always agree with you. You always just submit me, just put me in a submission. Like, yeah, all right, you're right again.
Yeah,
You're
I've
right
got
again.
a little horn and a snake behind me, and it's you're hearing the melody.
Chimes. We had a question there from chat, Carl. It was actually for Adam. Jeremy says, who's the realistic targets for Bears in free agency to target? Glenn already asked that answered that question. So what are you feeling about this, Adam?
Well, I'm not as plugged as Glenn is to these type of things, but what I try to do as you guys have seen with my mock drafts and I always try to think of like 5 different angles you could go from, whether it's, building through the draft and then getting some mid-level free agents so you have shorter contracts that you're not committed to, because we're not one piece away. But I honestly, I have no clue. I'm really excited for March 10th, what's going to happen, because you got a whole new regime. You got, Ryan Poles last year tried some things that were very disappointing in free agency. I think a lot of us, even when we saw free agency, were like, okay, this feels very mid. At least we got rid of Cody Whitehair, or at least we got rid of Lucas Patrick, but this doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel like this is, I remember after that, and then after the draft, because we only had 4 draft picks, well, 5 once we traded back in. But I mean, after the draft, we still felt like, well, it should be better than last year, right? This offensive line should be better, but it didn't feel exciting. So whatever they do, I just hope it's not like you said, Glenn, like your journeyman guys, like your guys that are backups that you're trying to make starters, and guys, I just hope they go after a couple key pieces. Like Kevin Zeitler's one that I've on my channel have obviously gotten excited about. He's one of the highest rated guards this entire year. Yes, he's older, but he's been an Iron Man. Like he never misses time, and he just plays really well in the pass protection. He really plays well in the run even, and he's worked with Ben Johnson. So I would like to see us start with that, because it's not an exuberant contract. It's not going to be a huge contract with his age, but I don't have any clue how this new regime is going to take free agency. But it will obviously have to be addressed in several key places, because we have 4 linemen on contract right now, 4, and some of those are even questionable, like Ryan Bates with his shoulder injury and his concussions, like that's questionable. So I mean, you're going to have 10 linemen, at least 16 going into the 90-man camp, then you trim it down to 9 or 10 of those. So we got a lot of work to do on the offensive line. I hope they focus there primarily, and like Glenn said, there's so many other spots to address too, especially on the defensive line. We need another defensive end. We need a 3 tech. We need a nose tackle, whether that's starting or depth. Obviously, I think Jervon Dexter's still starter quality, but he's got to take another step up. And Andrew Billings has played really well at times, but is he really that dominant guy that can shed guys or break through and be a dominant nose tackle? Not in my opinion, but I think he's a really, really solid rotational guy that we want on the team for his cheap $3 million contract. So there's a lot of things to be addressed. I have no idea how they're going to go about it, though. Like whether it's big value or mid value, I have no idea.
All right, I'm saving I saved my question for when you came in, and I want to get Foster's opinion on this first. Okay, let's just say the Bears plan on drafting a defensive end first, and I'm not going down the road of Myles Garrett because he's 29 years old, and it would take, I think, probably way too much for that age. But if what's his name from the Cowboys is really on the market, help me out. If Micah Parsons is on the market and the Bears are set, they're like, okay, we're going defense. Ben Johnson is like, we need this defensive end at 10, right? Why wouldn't you just invest that pick? And I'm just pontificating, okay? So nobody. This is just a pontification moment. And Foster, this is for you to answer and then we'll go down the panel. Why not just trade that pick for Micah Parsons and next year's first round pick? And maybe we give him, I don't know. I haven't really figured out the numbers after that because I don't know what the Jimmy Johnson score. Damn it. Yeah, that's it. You're finally getting pulled, Glenn. I've almost done it for several shows, and no, it's happening now.
How could you pull Glynn Morgan off? That's
you know why? This is Glenn's 12th time on our show.
I heard that earlier.
We pulled him the first show and haven't pulled him since. So, Foster, just pontificate with me. We'll get to there. Glenn will ultimately be right? But let's just hear you. Maybe you can venture down this road with me really quickly, Foster.
I'll have some egg rolls, some ping ping dong, and a glass of some Zach Charbonnet to wash it all down. I can't go along with it in any way, man. Giving up the draft capital, the contract, the money. Is he definitely going to like make all the difference in the world and put us over the top in this with our defensive scheme? Adam said it earlier. I've been saying it for guys they keep talking about these big names. I'm like, we're not Myles Garrett away from playing in the Super Bowl, guys. We're just not. So I just don't. I can't even comprehend that. I've heard that for like the last 10 or 12 days. They've said so many darn names, and I'm just going, yeah, don't see that one happening. It doesn't make sense. Why waste the resources? Who's going to be there at 10?
Since everyone else is going to they're just wait. Look at them. They're salivating. They're just waiting to shit all over this. I'm going to allow you to keep talking.
Yes.
So Foster, damn it! I just lost my train of thought.
Micah Parsons.
Fuck. Totally lost it.
Polls, Micah Parsons.
What's the last thing Foster just said?
Resources.
Didn't make sense. Who's going to be there at 10?
Who'll be there at 10?
Cobwebs up there in that old brain.
Oh God, I hate when
Chardonnay to wash it down. I don't know.
No super chats?
He was so stupid. He was so unwise. He was like an unwise man.
So where do you, Foster, where do you rank this team? Quarterback, offensive line, running back, wide receiver, defensive line, safeties, linebackers, and defensive line. When we traded for Khalil Mack, when we thought we were ready with Mitch Trubisky, where does this team compare to that team? And would you argue, before everyone else shits on this, Foster, would you argue that it's possible that this team is better off? Especially because if you're going to compare Caleb Williams to Mitch Trubisky, then we're not even going to have that discussion. But you following me?
Here, defensively, you can't compare this team to. You're talking about 2018, I assume.
Yeah, when they traded for Mack, yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the defining season after the trade. So the defense, it isn't there. I thought it was better. I thought we were better suited going into the season than we actually were. And I'm just giving you my honest opinion.
We're homers, I know.
It's not where it was at. And I still say Mitch Trubisky sucked. Go look at the games. That team was Vic Fangio's defense, and a couple good things happened. And like he scored 6 touchdowns one day, and just because look at all the failures from that team offensively. That's about where we're at right now. But I believe we've got a much better quarterback than we were when we were walking into the.
It was 5 touchdowns, by the way.
That's another guy they're talking about. Bring Khalil Mack back. Yeah, maybe on the very right contact. But why would that's the wrong direction. This team is want to be young and on the up for years, not go into the
countdown to being shit upon. Go ahead, Glenn.
You make a great point in terms of this team roster wise is probably better than that 2018 team was going in, especially. We weren't really sure. There are a lot of free agents helped make that team kind of go. Allen Robinson, I forget the other wide receiver we got, the tight end we got. You know, so skill wise, I think we're better suited. The issue is we weren't paying people like we're already paying right now with DJ and Montez Sweat. And although you have the quarterback on the rookie deal, you're paying other people significant money right now. And the other issue was back then you didn't need 4 offensive linemen to protect your quarterback. We needed at least 4 starters. And like Adam said earlier, there are going to be some backups we need as well. I think, and the last thing to say about it being problematic is that's not sustainable. That was good for that year. And then it didn't take very much to knock it off its kilter before it became a situation where financially you were constrained and you didn't have the resources in terms of draft capital to supplement anything because you kind of gave it away for Khalil Mack. It's kind of like you're swinging for the fences, more or less, is what it turned out to be. And you fell, you know, it's like it's like you do the home run derby and it's hit high in the air and it just falls like, you know, a good 300 feet short, you know, of the wall.
The shortstop, the shortstop.
It was a long single. It was a long single. You didn't even round second on that one. So that's the issue I see with it. It's like we should learn from that, not try to recreate the same mistake. And and as someone pointed out, a great fact that Parsons is super young. I get it. That's why it's tantalizing. That's why you even consider it. But keep in mind, he's just one man. I mean, he's one person, and he can make a lot of things happen. And this defense is not a bad defense. I mean, him on this defense, I mean, dude, it's going to be a problem for a lot of people. No doubt. I mean, unequivocally, even without, you know, the true 3 techniques, so to speak. And again, Dennis Allen, you know, his schemes may be a little bit different. He may utilize them more efficiently and effectively. And that's what makes it, you know, scary. But I think we need to be more prudent. And I'll say this last thing, and I'll get off the phone here, so to speak. Listen to you guys talk.
You know, this is an open line. What is that? What was that called back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s?
Party line.
This is a party line. Come on, Glenn. We all want to use the phone.
Yeah, no doubt. And the thing is that I felt Poles could have gotten a lot more from had 2 number 1 picks. So I'm sorry, 2 first picks overall. I know we traded down, you know, and with Carolina, then we were fortunate enough to get first pick overall again. We got Caleb. I thought there was so much more we could have gotten draft capital wise that would have been a building towards something sustainable, something more foundational, to where we would have a cadre of from last year and a cadre of picks going into this current off season, to where you can, the Bears can put themselves in a situation where they're like the Steelers, or they're like the Ravens, or they're like what the Chiefs are now, or how the Eagles have been, where you're building through the draft. You get a few free agents, but you're building through the draft. You have young, active players, and it's not just a quarterback that's on his rookie deal. You have 4, 5, 6 other impact players on their rookie deal, and they're all motivated to keep playing at a certain level because they want to get that next contract too. I think we went away from, or the possibility of that was eschewed when he went out and got Keenan Allen, and he used other draft picks to get other journeyman offensive linemen. And then you use a pick on a punter. I don't care how talented he is. If your punter's on the field, to get value out of him, if he's on the field 4, 5, 6 times, that means your offense isn't doing well. It's a luxury pick. So that's my whole point, is that we need to be more pragmatic. Getting someone like Myles Garrett, or getting Micah Parsons, we're not that close yet to where making that move would make enough sense, because we have so much more to do. And, you know, we need to learn from the past mistakes, is my point.
Adam, you wanna shit on me one last time before we move on? Because he said it all. He's right.
I'm not going to. Glenn's spot on, but there's multiple things there because even Ryan Poles has said when it comes to the draft, these are just prospects. They're just potential.
It's true.
There's no guarantee. There's no proven there. But in a draft class like this, where it's so heavy on the defensive line, I can't see us repeating those mistakes of the past, especially with Ryan Poles, with the way he has built the contracts that he has signed with free agents. Mm-hmm. Now, yeah, he traded for Montez Sweat, more of a calculated risk on his part, gave up a second for it, and still extended him. And on the other hand of that, Micah Parsons is proven. Like he is, I mean, he's one of the best in the NFL. He's one of the very best guys. So when you're trading for him, you're basically inserting a guy that is going to be a guarantee on your team to be an impact player. I just don't see with the Bears having right now, we have 34 guys on the roster since the league year ended. Well, since our league year ended, we have 34 guys on the roster that will be on the 53-man roster right now. So we have 19 guys we need to fill out. We've got 8 draft picks. Not all 8 of those are even going to make the roster. Some of those 7th rounders or 6th rounders might not make it. You've got free agency, and you got essentially $60 million in spendable cap. If you trade away this year's first rounder, and not only that, but you're hemorrhaging next year's first rounder, and you've got 4 safeties on the roster, all 4 of them, their contracts come to an end at the end of 2025. You're really putting yourself back into Ryan Pace type of stuff where you're hemorrhaging the future for the now when we got a rookie quarterback that isn't proven. I love Caleb. I think he's done great his rookie year, but he's not proven yet. You don't have an offensive line at all, and you're going to trade all that away for a defensive lineman when this year's defensive line class is not even arguably, I mean, consensus. Everyone says that's the strength of this year's draft.
Oh, without doubt.
I don't see us making a move for Myles Garrett, for Micah Parsons, for Max Crosby, for anybody. I don't see us doing that type of trade this year. Maybe mid-season if we've built this good team and we're 6-1 and we get close to the trade deadline and we're missing one piece, then we could trade a future first round pick for the right piece to, hey, we're 6-1. We're actually making a run at this and Caleb's looking like a veteran quarterback. Maybe then, but not in the offseason. I don't see us making a big blockbuster trade in the offseason this year.
Particularly
there
like
is
you
no
just said,
now.
it's just like to piggyback on what Adam said, particularly he said defensive, but especially the defensive edge rushing position. That's where it's really deepest. So yeah, that's even more of a reason. It's like, Abdul Carter might be the closest Micah Parsons. Ironically, we played at the same school. He may be the closest Micah Parsons-esque in terms of versatility and impact in this draft. It arguably could be the number 1 pick overall. But I don't feel bad if the Bears, say in the second round, get someone like James Pierce. Maybe he falls to the second round, or you get someone like Princely Umamnielan out of Ole Miss / Florida. These are guys that can come off the edge, give you that athleticism, but are good enough and strong enough to play and hold the edge. So there are a ton of guys that can give you what you need. And I don't know, I mean, that will make the Bears defense that much more potent. And I'm all for that. But again, there's so many other issues, and you want to help your quarterback survive. We just saw what happened to the best quarterback in the league, and that was a pretty good offensive line. It wasn't like it was a poo-butt line. It wasn't even the same injury-depleted line he had when he got run over and steamrolled by the Buccaneers. This line was healthy. They'd been playing well all year, and it looked like, tissue paper. So
we did see what happened to Patrick Mahomes, but
I'm not even going to get into that. I have zero thought.
I mean,
I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one that saw the similarities between Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams in that Super Bowl, though, right? I mean, it looked very similar.
Well, other than Patrick Mahomes throwing dirt balls.
What, you know what, man?
I'm saying with his line. What happened with his line?
Right.
Oh,
yeah. And with that being said, I mean, I know it was garbage time down the stretch, and some of those were empty calories in terms of the yards and the touchdowns he got. But he was still, everything looked hard. Everything looked very difficult until the very end. And that's
Yeah,
from that's from a guy who's the best. And Caleb is still in a proving ground, as Adam alluded to earlier. And I think he'll be fine. I think he's, clearly he is an NFL quarterback. He's NFL talent. I have no doubt about that. But don't forget, he's learning another new system as well. There's a lot of growth still with this team. And I was going to say this to really shit on you even more, Shorty.
Please bring it on.
Is that even with whatever free agent moves the Bears do make in terms of acquiring, especially offensive line talent, it still may not be enough for next year.
Yeah, I know. I've already listen. I had a major moment with myself during this season. I'm like, I started this channel because of Justin Fields. I was like overly confident that they were going to be able to do what I think Kevin O'Connell could do with Justin Fields.
Oh, Justin Fields just won the Super Bowl. He's going to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever. No, seriously, you look at Jalen Hurts. There's not much difference between he and Justin.
I agree. Yes,
other than he's had the benefit of way better coaching and a way better offensive line and talent around him. Other than that, he's more athletic than Jalen. Jalen, Hurts is pretty freaking athletic, but Justin's way faster. He's much more electric in terms of his feet and moving the ball. Justin has better deep ball accuracy and is more consistent with his deep ball accuracy. I think where Hurts is better, I think he's been more. His time spent studying film and improving year in and year out, we've seen since he left Alabama, went to Oklahoma to Philly, and then over the next couple of seasons. But there's not much difference. And when I say that, I mean in terms of you put someone in a situation where it's a healthy situation and they have good coaches and you've got the talent around you, you can do something. And I think Justin is probably in as good a space as he can probably be if Pittsburgh re-signs him. That offensive line was a young offensive line. They actually did have a couple of rookies on that line. They did very well, two of which I wouldn't have minded if the Bears had gotten one of them, particularly the center. But anyway, I digress. But that offensive line is going to be much more solid next year. The running backs, they're decent. They're versatile. They're decent. They need a little more explosion from the backfield, in my opinion. Obviously, they need probably another 2 wide receivers. Mike Williams, we'll see how healthy he can be, but there's a big, tall receivers. The tight ends are phenomenal. I like both tight ends, and that defense is slowly starting to get the influx of younger talent in there. And you've got coaching, you've got a very healthy locker room, healthy organization, and you have an offensive coordinator who I don't think is as dynamic as some, but he's solid and consistent, and he generally doesn't put his quarterbacks in bad situations. So I'm just saying,
How about Aston Genty at 10?
Hell no.
See, look, I did that. I did that on purpose.
I agree with Glenn all the time.
And I don't mean to sound so disrespectful to the person who asked the question. Who's
no, I did that as a test. Yeah, STC asked about it. I said I was going to ask that STC, but I know Glenn will shit all over me. Watch, I will ask. And I asked it, and you totally dropped trow and jumped out a Cleveland steamer all over my chest on it.
Well, here's the other thing. Outside of defensive talent and defensive line and interior, as well as the edge rushers, the other position that's super deep in this draft class is running back. Yeah. This arguably, in my, I'll say, half century that I can recall of watching football, this may be the deepest running back class I've ever seen. It is ridiculous. That's when you asked me earlier about drafting running back. I don't think you have to. I think you can probably get one in free agency and still be fine. And that guy could even be a difference maker. And it's not like that hasn't happened in NFL before. We've seen it happen on a lot of teams. Not too long ago, we saw it happen with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Where I think the rookie, I can't recall his name now. I think I'm not even sure if he's still in the league, but I think he ended up being arguably he was in the running for rookie of the year. I think, I can't remember. He's a kind of a low to the ground, between a power and a speed back, but he was a real good running back. I think he got traded to either the Eagles or the Jets a couple of years ago. But anyway, my point being, you can get a free agent running back who can come in and, in the right situation, especially if he's utilized the way Johnson utilizes the running backs, can be impactful, if not at times dominating. But no, Ashton Genty, I like him. He's a talented guy.
I told you STC.
Breaks back.
I told
Hey,
you.
Glenn, didn't the Lions sign a guy like that a couple of years ago? Montgomery, I'm talking
Montgomery.
about.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. I mean, so, but yeah, running backs.
Well, look at Derrick Henry this last year.
And I got a question for everybody real quick. So if Genty's when Genty's there at 10, is anybody going to be willing to move up to get him?
No,
they'd be willing to move up to get somebody else, not him.
They don't. This draft, it's too deep in running back. You don't have to move up to get a running back.
Well, Adam, didn't you just do today?
If he were 6'1", 210, running a 4.2 and catch the ball at the backfield and ran with power and had great contact balance, and he's 324 yards after contact, whatever. Even with that,
Derrick Henry,
maybe. But I would say probably you'd have to be Marshall Faulk for me to even consider it. And I don't see. And when I say Marshall Faulk, I don't mean Marshall Faulk the rookie. I mean Marshall Faulk like the Rams Marshall Faulk. You know, like already proven to the. It's no, no. I'm sorry.
This is.
Well, I did that as a test. So
this is the year of the running back, as Glynn said. But what makes Ashton Genty so special is that yak, the yards after contact. But there's like 5 running backs in this draft class that have over 1,000 yards this year in yards after contact. So Ashton Genty is a bull. He will run people over, but he doesn't even have. People are saying he's like Gibbs in the comments. Like and even worse, I've seen the comparisons to Sweetness. He doesn't have the lateral agility. He does not move east to west the way that he moves. Now, granted, you can hand it to him 30 times in a game and he'll get you 5 yards every time and you'll get first, and that's great, but he's not this much more special than the next guys behind him. Exactly. There are so many good running backs, and I think some that are better than Ashton Genty. In my opinion, that's an unpopular opinion. I think Ashton Genty will go first off the board. There's a lot of hype behind him, and he is a bull, but there's so many good running backs. I don't see teams trading up for him. He could get taken early. The Raiders have made weird decisions before. The Raiders could take him at 6. He could get taken early, but I would honestly expect him to go somewhere in the 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, maybe to the Chargers range, with the defensive opportunities, the Mason Grahams and the even Walter Nolans I would take ahead of Ashton Genty. There's so many good players that will impact your team on the trenches in this draft. He's a good player. I don't see him. I don't see someone trading up for him.
You know what?
I just talk about it. You did that special, you and Carl tonight. Excellent show on the running backs. Because I think my first 3 guys listed because I'm like, okay, he's going to go somewhere else. Were Judkins, Amarian Hampton. Who's the other kid from Ohio State? You could take
Travion Henderson.
There's just these guys did a really good layout of just the running backs. I was really into it tonight because that's a position I've been looking at. We don't have what I thought we had. We just don't have it. We've got 3 running backs, and only one of them has actually proven anything.
There's a running back, and I assume he'll get drafted, but he may not. And he's not
Hampton over Gentry. I just have to answer Chad. I'm just saying these are guys that we could get later in the draft.
Sure.
We don't have to pick we don't have to use our first round pick on a running back to get a quality running back in this draft.
I wouldn't worry about it until maybe the 6th round, 5th round, maybe. And some other trades may happen to where maybe you get another 5th round pick and maybe you pick the running back there. But there's a guy, and I really didn't see him until late in the year, and he's so explosive. And he's so versatile. And I'm like, man, this dude runs great routes, not just out the backfield, a Texas route or out in the flat or whatever, a screen. No, like literally like routes downfield. Great hands. I saw him make a catch. This was a running back. Saw him make a catch over 2 people. Or, he was sandwiched in between 2 people. The fact that he was even double covered should tell you right there that it was weird. And I'm talking about downfield. It was like 20 plus yards downfield. I'm like, okay, well, maybe he's just a speed back. He's got good hands, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw him knock back a 230 plus pound linebacker at the goal line where it was just the one of them. It's like, it's like the Oklahoma drill. It's me and you, and he took him on and scored a touchdown. And when I say knocked him back, he wasn't like he was at the goal line and fell in. Like he hit that guy probably about 2 yards, pushed him back. Brashard Smith out of SMU. And I was amazed by just watching him. I'm like, this dude, like, what the hell? And there's a big reason why SMU was as good as they were this year. And then when I did a little, I'm like, oh, no wonder he ran such great routes. He used to be a wide receiver when he was at Miami. He played at the U. And I'm like, okay, there you go. You're so much talent at the U that you like, you know what? To get on the field, let me just switch positions. Brashard Smith is someone who will probably be there in the 5th round, unless he just has an amazing combine and people start to see what I saw, and then maybe he might move into maybe 3rd round status. But that's a guy who kind of gives you that explosion. And if you want a similarity to Jamar Gibbs, not necessarily the same speed or the same burst, although Brashard does have that accelerant. He has that ability to go 0 to 60, maybe not 0 to 80 like Jamar. But in terms of the versatility and utilization out of the backfield to where you're leveraging your mismatches, and someone like Ben Johnson could get someone like Brashard Smith, and that you could see the dynamism in this offense really, start to explode and go to the forefront. But that's me wishful thinking. But that's someone who I think that type of talent, because it's such a deep class, that guy will be there, 4th, 5th round, I believe.
Before Glenn, I just want to remind you, it's an hour and 24. So I just want to make sure you're still cool with hanging out with us, or you got to take off.
No, I'm still good for a bit. I've had an adult beverage, so I'm able to.
Okay, see, that's how it works. Yeah.
Damn, I forgot to say something when you were drinking, Glenn.
And the last comment, I don't know who wrote it. He says that Smith gives me Marshall Faulk visions. Yes, he does. He kind of does give me a little bit of Marshall Faulk-ish, a poor man's Marshall Faulk, which is still a pretty wealthy person.
I'll take that. I want to shift gears here too. I want to do a comparison. So one of the things that really grinds my gears is that we had Vic Fangio. He was on our team. He gave us one of our best defenses. And of course, he hadn't become a head coach yet, so he had to go, and we can't fault him for that. But honestly, that was really a big demise of that Matt Nagy team. We kind of talked about that earlier, that Fangio his defense is really what gave him that boost as a young head coach for the first time. And now he's with Philly, and they just won a Super Bowl. And it pisses me off that I think that he's not going anywhere now.
No, not at all.
He's going to ride out his career there and retire Philadelphia, maybe win one or more Super Bowls and have a dominant defense with that defense that they built. And then I try to calm myself down from being so upset about that. And I think, is our current defensive coordinator is Dennis Allen. Obviously, he's not as good. I think Vic Fangio is probably one of the best, if not, just below Buddy Ryan, defensive coordinators of all time.
He's top 10. In my lifetime, he's easily top 10 in my lifetime. So I would agree with you. Yes.
With Dennis Allen potentially becoming our defensive coordinator, that's not going anywhere, assuming that we have a good team and he's able to build the team and have a good team and have a good defense. Where do you rank our positioning with Dennis Allen as our defensive coordinator? You can't really compare him to, but contrasted to, I guess, or in the same realm of Vic Fangio.
I think he's top of the line. I mean, the Saints defense has been sustained. I mean, it's been good to very good for a good amount of time. And I think when Allen's with the Raiders, the defense is pretty good too. I think he's proven commodity. I think sometimes, I hate to say it and it sounds trite, sometimes you're only as good as your talent, but there are times when you can mold your talent and, it's blah, 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 blah. But there are times where the coaching talent meets up and marries the players, and you see what we've seen with Kansas City and Spagnuolo. He's been around for a while. He's been good, but with the Chiefs, man, he's Super Bowl winner. You see that with Vic Fangio. I mean, he's with the 49ers. That was a great defensive. I mean, that team was stupid loaded with talent. I mean, just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. They didn't win a Super Bowl, but they were super talented. With the Bears team, it's a lot of talent on that team where he went. So I think with Allen, it may be a situation where you get a couple of key draft picks with the talent you have now, because it's our secondary, in my opinion, is top 5 talent wise. And maybe I'm a bit of a homer when it comes to that a little bit, but when healthy, it's a very good. And even though people are pissed at Tariq for being a knucklehead at times, talent wise, he's a big corner. And here's the thing, with Allen's, he may play more man, which is more what he's more suited to. And so you're getting his length and his strength, his ability, Terrell Smith as well. And you've got the secondary, and it's a very good secondary. Sometimes those guys can help give you those coverage sacks. You get 1 or 2 more talent here defensively, it could be a good marriage. And then Allen may, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, with his schemes and this talent, all of a sudden you have blah, blah, blah. So I think you're right. I don't think Allen's going anywhere anytime soon because he has unfortunately, the onus of not being successful head coach. And so, but he's still young enough that he may get one more crack at it. And why not come to Chicago? It's a major market. It's known for its defense. If you're gonna have success defensively anywhere and going to be lauded for it, there's only like maybe 2 or 3 other places that would give you that same kind of cachet. Pittsburgh's another place, Baltimore, but here in Chicago, hey man, we're all about the defense. All Hall of Famers, like 80% of them are defensive players. And you look at the Philadelphia situation, as you were saying before, if you do things well enough, there are times when we talk about certain players want to go to an organization because they have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl, right? Makes sense. We see it in other sports championship level type situations as well. In Philadelphia, right now, the runway to getting yourself a head coaching job is as offensive coordinator, because the talent is there right now. Defensive coordinator isn't going anywhere, but there's so much talent there offensively with offensive line, young quarterback. People say, oh, Jalen Hurts, he's going to have to learn another system. He's been learning systems like for the last 5 of the last 6-7 years. I think he's okay with it. But here's the thing. They know who they are. So now the organization, Howie Roseman goes out and you find a coordinator that's going to fit what your players are doing, not necessarily the other way around. And it's a runway to getting a head coach. You can go in there, man, just as long as you don't screw it up. So all that said, to tie into the Bear situation, Allen may find himself in a situation where coming to Chicago, staying in Chicago 2, 3, 4 years, get the right kind of talent, can get you that cachet to where he may have that one more chance at a head coaching position. So I think I feel very good about that selection as far as being off one of the coordinators.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that? Does Dennis Allen take away any of your potential loss of Vic Fangio anxiety, Adam?
I absolutely am thrilled about Dennis Allen. And the biggest reason, I think he's a victim of circumstance. He can't help that the offense in New Orleans didn't play well when Derek Carr went down and they had quarterback carousels and everything else. That wasn't on him. The defense still played very well. Obviously, after he got fired, the defense played even worse. You can look at how the New Orleans defense got worse there. He's been a victim of circumstance. And with what Glynn was saying, I actually grinned when he said that part about the defensive backs here. I think that's exciting for him because Terrell Smith plays man 5 times better than Tyreek Stevenson. Now, I think Tyreek Stevenson is raw, and I think he can help him a lot. I think he will. But Dennis Allen fits right in that same mentality that Ben Johnson talked about at his press conference, making things look the same and making things look different, making people question. He's even run some sets where he's ran a 4-2-5 with 3 safeties back there. And if you can take someone like Tyreek Stevenson, who doesn't hang as well at man, and put him back at safety with Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker or whoever else, Hicks or whoever else is in there, and have some sets where he's throwing off people and they can have, some of them come up and play linebacker even. Like, I think he's got a really good opportunity with Chicago, with this defense in a place, like Glynn said, is known for the defense, and he can put his staple back on Chicago Bears defense. I think it was exciting for him. It's exciting for the Bears, and I think we are going to be a monster defense again. I think it's just a matter of time with Dennis Allen. I'm very excited about that hire.
Getting me excited. Foster, what do you feel?
Me too, man. I don't even have to say much because you guys covered everything. I want to throw this, and you go back and you look at it, and Adam, you hit it. Victim of circumstances. look at the player turnover on defense because of the salary implications that have arrived the last 3 seasons with New Orleans. There has been turnover on that defense. They lost a major player here and there, I think, the last 2 years, but they've still been able to maintain a solid defense for the most part, except for when they're getting totally blown out because the defense is on the field for 4 quarters. And I haven't seen all the New Orleans games, the last few years, but I catch depending on what's on. And then Chicago is the place to if he can turn this defense around and make it one of the top defenses in the NFL, I don't see how that wouldn't put him in a position, especially if the team is succeeding for, let's say, 2 or 3 years and we're just winning and we're constantly there. That would be easier on him. There's only so many cities that I think you can do that in. New York, LA, Dallas, Chicago, maybe Green Bay. So how many other opportunities would he even get to be the offensive coordinator at this time, where he's got this situation walking into these players that you're talking about? Plus, he's going to have some input too, I'm sure, with polls on what type of player we need to run the defense to uplift the defense to help these other guys to make it so Sweat's got more opportunities, to make some of these guys on the interior either replace them or get a better cast around them. So I just think that Chicago, it's a perfect situation for him. And I was happy of the signing because we usually get somebody that's first time, I mean, just look at over the decades, every coach that's run through here, go back from 69 up and look at every coach that's come through Chicago. I could start listing names with the head coaches because you didn't know them unless you were in football circles. Jim Dooley, Abe Gibran, Jack Pardee. Nobody knew Jack Pardee was a Canadian coach at one point in time. Neil Armstrong.
Why are you talking about all of our shitty head coaches?
Yes, and I'm just starting with the head coaches. I didn't even get into naming coordinators because you're not going to know any of them because that's what we do. Oh, this guy could possibly work out and turn the team around. Go right down the list. Go down the list. You could throw Lovey and Ditka in there too. Because they weren't. Ditka was not. Who else was going to hire him as a head coach?
Well, he wrote a letter. He wasn't.
I agree. That's a special circumstance.
He wasn't on the.
But honestly, go back and look at all the coaches. Mm-hmm. How many coaches have we hired in the last 30 years?
John Fox. That
have a reputation of winning and bringing a solid foundation to the clubhouse, man, from the players on up.
Well,
bringing this into Chicago from somewhere else.
Mark Trustman had a record, though.
We're naming names and laughing. That's how funny it isn't.
Oh, well said. Yes, it's very well said. To go back to 2018, it kind of gives me remnants of that. You got a first-time head coach, a young, far better. Listen, Matt Nagy. We knew he didn't call plays for Kansas City. That's the best thing about the Ben Johnson hire is we all can see it with our own eyeballs what he's going to bring to this team. Whereas every other head coaching hire, we had to try to make excuses for reasons why we could think that they could be good, rather than what's looking at in the pudding, right? And this hire with Johnson, and then bringing in a qualified, bona fide. To take the line from "Oh Brother, War Out There," a bona fide, qualified defensive coordinator like Nagy had in Fangio. Only this guy's not going anywhere. I think it's got to bode well for us, right? It has to. Enough hope, right? We have to believe this is actually it's not false hope, right?
Right, sure. I want to make you happy.
You're getting pulled twice tonight, Glenn.
It's time for us to finally prove
setting it up for his next appearance. Yeah, we just want to make sure he's happy. Okay,
I'll say this: I understand the frustration of the Bears fans and the impassioned cry get at somebody who's experienced. I mean, we realize the majority of the coaches that are hired were never head coaches before, right? Okay. We've seen coaches who weren't calling plays who have had significant success. We see it in Minnesota. We saw it in Green Bay. We've seen it with Miami.
San Francisco.
it happens. You look at the coaching staff that Holmgren put together back in the day, and which was an offshoot of Bill Walsh. All those that tree. So I hear that, but it doesn't mean that just because someone didn't have the experience as a head coach that they can't be a good head coach, or vice versa. But I think the coaching position may be almost as hard to pin down as drafting a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when you look, you say, hey, he should have. Look at all of Belichick's disciples. They've all been crappy. The best one, the names escape me right now, Bill something or the other. He went to Penn State to be a head coach for a bit. Then he took over for the Texans, and he had some success there as a head coach. They got to a playoff, but it wasn't, it didn't last very long. He might have been the most successful, coach that was in Belichick's system. And Flores, actually, he had some success. And then, the dynamics that happened in Florida, cut that short. So just because you should doesn't mean you will. Just because people don't think you can doesn't mean that you won't. Yes, I agree with you, Shorty, that we've seen the proof in the pudding for Ben, and it wasn't just a 1-year wonder. We've seen it for a couple of seasons. You look at Canellis, had that 1 year with Tampa Bay and got him a head coaching job with Carolina. Okay, jury's still out. I think he did a decent job, all things considered, but he may be really successful. You look at Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll should have had, he had some success with the Jets with New England early on. And I can't remember with the Jets, whichever one was first. He's both Jets and New England before he went to college. And then when he comes back, then he becomes a Pete Carroll that is this wildly successful guy. And now, even at the age of 125, the Raiders are going to utilize him to interject energy into their organization. So, it's sometimes, man, it's being in the right place at the right time, circumstances. You mentioned Adam, you mentioned with Dennis Allen. Sometimes it's like it's his fault that injuries happen to certain key players at certain times, but he's held, that's going to be a mark on him, going forward. So he's not going to get the head coaching job look anytime soon. So yeah, sometimes it's circumstantial. Sometimes you just suck, and other times, you benefit from being in the right place at the right time. You look at the Eagles head coach. People don't think he's really that great a head coach, but damn, dude is averaging 12 wins a season. They won 11 last year, and people are acting like, get him the fuck out of here. He sucks. Oh, he's the worst ever. I'm like, dude, if you can win 11 and be that dysfunctional with all that talent, pump the brakes. Maybe it was his coordinators. 2 new coordinators come in, a free agent here or there, you're Super Bowl champs. And it's essentially pretty much, kind of the same team that it was last year. There wasn't a whole wide sweeping amount of changes there. So right place, right time, all that kind of stuff. I think you have to have patience. I think you need to be honest with yourself. And by we, I'm talking about these organizations that are doing the hiring. In the Bears situation, be honest with yourself. We look at we saw that during the playoffs. I can't remember her first name. She's in charge of the Lions now. She's a forward, and they asked her. And I think at that time Campbell might have had like an 18 winning percentage, success rate or whatever. And she's like, "No, I think we're going to hold the course." And by doing that, look where they're at now. So, I think what we have to stop doing is what we've been doing. And every 2 to 3 years, getting a new head coach. You're not able to build any kind of continuity. Yeah, that cycle has to stop.
Wow.
And stop hiring first-time head coaches that can't win.
But that's going to happen.
I mean, I don't know. I just said all that, and he's still a first-time head coach.
Yes, most coaches are first-time head coaches. That's just how it is.
You said it to start your rant, but the people that he's brought in around him, the experience in years in the NFL,
that makes a difference. I agree.
And I'm not talking, I'm low tier. I'm talking these guys, their positions, just where they've been, all of them. Eric Bieniemy, Allen. There's 4 more guys I can't even think of their names, but where they've been and what they've accomplished.
Yeah, somebody's won a Super Bowl.
Foster, just be grateful our first-time head coach is Ben Johnson and not Brian Schottenheimer.
Or
no, who's the guy for the Jaguars?
Liam Cohen.
Liam Cohen.
There you go.
Liam.
Duval. Like, look at me, guys. Oh wait, what? That didn't go over very well.
I had to watch that twice because I thought it was fake.
I know.
I thought it was just some TikTok thing.
I had to watch that
watched
3
it
times because I had to watch it 3 times to make sure that wasn't our head coach. There's
Then they got Trevor Lawrence up there mimicking him and saying, "Go easy on him. He's a first-time head coach. Like he's having to defend his head coach."
Oh man, that'll go down in infamy.
Yeah,
Now, we've
good
got
luck
a couple of really good questions here, and we've got somebody that also said that he loves Adam's takes. So I want to ask Adam, let's pull up the question about Braxton Jones first.
Uh-oh.
From Fizzo Joey.
Swing lineman.
Bears won't be able to overhaul the offensive line in one offseason. Do you guys see Braxton being a Band-Aid for another year and focus on guards and center this offseason?
You go first, Adam. Jordy. Yeah. I think with how many needs we have, I mentioned it earlier, we have 4 guys under contract, 3 if you count Nate Davis and his. I'm sorry, not Dave, Ryan Bates and his situation. Braxton Jones is not a Pro Bowler. He's not your permanent staple at left tackle when a left tackle is so important for your quarterback to be protected, especially right-handed quarterback. But Braxton Jones didn't play terribly last year. The way I would summarize Braxton Jones is this is basically a prove-it year. This is a contract year for him. And I don't see many options with our limited salary cap and 8 draft picks, with the amount of needs we have. I don't see us moving on from Braxton this year. I think this is you can call it Band-Aid, but I would say more of a prove-it year for Braxton. In my opinion, I mean, you're going to have so many people dissenting on this one question because they're so mad at Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones is great at being a run blocking. He can get out there quick. I mean, there's games where you saw him. I mean,
hell of an athlete.
He's really, really good athlete. I love him. He has not built his base up yet. He does get bull rushed a little bit, but when he does get bull rushed, I do like that he gets guys pushed out of the play most of the time. He didn't give up an inordinate amount of sacks for the amount of times he gave up pressures. So am I happy with Braxton Jones long term?
No.
I'm not sold on him, but I also think there's too many other needs to be moving on from Braxton Jones this year that he would be starting at left tackle. But I have mentioned a lot of times in a lot of my podcasts lately and a lot of my mock drafts, taking someone like an Ariante Ursary or a Wyatt Millum that could come and be plugged in there with shorter arms at left guard. And if something happened to Braxton, or if we need them, they could get kicked out to left tackle, but not start there and start. There's just options, but I don't see us moving on from Braxton Jones this year. No, I think he'll be on the roster, and I think he'll be the starting left tackle. That's just my opinion.
Let me ask you this question, Adam. If at 10 we take an offensive tackle, at that point, someone that can play left tackle better than him, do you use Braxton as just a swing offensive lineman, or do you move him inside and get that athleticism in the interior along with maybe whoever else you might get in free agency as a right guard and a center, so to speak?
I just don't see, and this is just me as my analysis of this draft, I don't see anybody at the top of this draft that is a starting left tackle in the NFL from the start. Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks both have shorter arms, both 33, 34-inch arms. Now, that's not a killer. You can still play tackle at the NFL level. But year one, people don't realize that adjustment to the NFL, you're not usually seeing Joe Alt type style of play year one. So there's an adjustment. So I don't see someone playing better than Braxton Jones, even though Braxton Jones isn't perfect long-term. They're not going to come in as a rookie with this class, this left tackle. Now, next year's left tackle class I'm excited about, and I hope we use our first-round pick next year.
Oh, damn. You're telling me we're going to tank another season for a tackle now?
No, we're tanking. Look, Braxton Jones was the 14th best-rated left tackle this year. Is that blowing your socks off? No. Is that Pro Bowler? No. But it's serviceable. And I think he will play fine with a good line around him. He's not the biggest weakness on this line this last year.
That's true.
Really, the right guard and center and the rotation of depth, how bad our depth was on the interior, especially not having Nate Davis work out, Ryan Bates continually injured, having to play Matt Pryor as a starter all year. I mean, there's just so many other needs. I can't see us drafting someone that would start left tackle day one. Not Will Campbell, not Kelvin Banks, not Ariante Ursary. I mean, all of them 34-inch arms. I could see them starting left guard. So, no, I don't see someone being drafted at 10 that would take Braxton's spot, even if we drafted them with the purpose of developing them to become left tackle. Probably start at left guard and then move to left tackle next year if Braxton doesn't work out. J2K says Josh Simmons. I like the prospect of Josh Simmons. I'm worried about that injury and how well he'll come back. Karan Amagaji actually is a really, really good prospect. I know this fan base really craps on him the way that we crap on Shorty. Like, we crap on Karan because of what he did this last year, but he was injured. He had to be developed, and he's coming off that injury. We didn't even expect him to see the field this last year, and they thrust him in there. He's got a learning curve, just like I'm talking about the learning curve. If we pick someone at 10, them to have a learning curve at left tackle, this is a huge offseason for Karan. I'm not even opposed to Karan long term, but he's got to make some major steps, and he's got to hit the weight room, and he's got to get the training, and he's had a year in the system though. I don't know.
It's a crappy system.
That's what the,
in the wrong system. He has to start all over again.
Who knows if anybody's watching tape with him?
I agree with you, Adam, because are we still paying Charles Leno? I'm joking. I know we're not, but I mean, okay. So you said he was ranked 14th. We've got somebody who's average or slightly above average at left tackle at this point in time. What do we replace him with? I don't think there's an offensive tackle either that's going to jump in and start either. You know, Poles is going to bring in competition. He just brought what's his name from San Diego. He's not a starter. It's a depth piece move, but he's going to have competition there. I've been saying, I wish PJ was here because we've been saying since like the third or fourth week of 2 seasons ago that we've been pounding the table. We've been saying interior offensive line needs to be fixed immediately. It's the biggest problem. It has been for 3 seasons.
Actually thinking about doing fish and spaghetti.
Yeah, there you go. There's Pete.
I like KEU's comment here though, because look at the Evan Neals and look at the Alex Leatherwoods that were supposed to be major hits, and it's tough. And Braxton Jones has exceeded his spot. He's 5th round draft pick, and he's played very well for a 5th round.
Well, the 2 names you mentioned, Adam, I'm a Tennessee guy. They were Alabama guys. That's why it didn't work out. I'm just
So you don't want us going with Tyler Booker, is what you're saying?
I didn't pull you that time.
So he's saying, Glenn's saying no to Tyler Booker. Do not draft Tyler Booker.
Don't do it.
Well, we got there was another question I wanted to get to from it's changing the subject though. KEU says, question: has there been a general manager that has managed the salary cap better than Ryan Poles over the last 4 years?
Yeah, sure. The 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl. Just start there. They do a great job. I mean, think about how much talent is on the Philadelphia. It's like, how are you affording to pay, AJ Brown and Hurts, and then you've got your other wide receiver you extended, you're paying Devontae as well. I mean, somehow they keep finding ways to make it work, but because they invest in the draft as well. And they do a great job drafting players, and they do a great job creating an environment that they all, I won't say just support one another. It sounds as I'm minimizing it. I mean, it's a thriving personality. I think he was intentional to get as many players as he got from Georgia. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Eagles turn around and go 14-3 next year or 13-4 and find themselves back in the NFC Championship game at the very least, because the culture, it's so overused, the word culture these days, but it is in terms of that mindset of winning. I mean, those guys are pissed off, the ones that came from Georgia. Like, we're not used to this. We're not accustomed to this. They're hungry. They want to keep eating. They love eating championships. They want more championships. You can just see in how they played. I mean, I think they realize sometimes when a team wins a championship and they know how they've done it, they reach a certain level of confidence that is almost like their will is almost unbreakable in ways. We said it with the Chiefs this past year. They should have, any other team probably would have lost about 4 or 5 of the games during the regular season. They probably should have been like a 9-8, 10-17, but they know how to win. And their mindset is, we're not going to lose. And they know various ways to go about winning so they don't beat themselves. I think you saw that develop throughout the season and the playoffs. And I think you saw the culmination of that in the Super Bowl. This Eagles team is going to be something, a power reckoning going forward. And Howard Roseman is a big reason because of that. And it's going to attract other free agents. Other guys are going to want to come there to play. That's part of it as well. You look with the Chiefs, what they've been doing. There are other teams. The Ravens do a good job with how they are able to, have players come in and out, and they don't invest too heavily in free agency. I think that's kind of key too. You don't put all your money in the free agent. Then you invest in your own guys, which again sends a reinforced message to that we're going to take care of our own. That's a part of it. And yeah, but to answer your question, yeah, there's several GMs I think that do a really good job with the salary cap.
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
Yeah,
Eagles are how many first and second year contracts played the Super Bowl for the Eagles?
A great question. I don't have that. Adam,
I'm going to say it's counting special teams. It's like 6 or 7 guys that had a major role in this season. The contracts they've moved to make room, what they did to even bring Barkley in.
Yeah.
He's got to be up there near the top because you look at, and now they're already discussing the wide receiver situation because it's going to be a money issue. This is being talked about in Philadelphia since before the Super Bowl, even they were talking about it. So
for KU's comment, though, I think he's kind of alluding to the fact of how we cleaned up some of those bad contracts. Now we have I don't know the exact number, and it's something I should know because this is like what I pride myself on, but it's like $2 million-ish in dead cap right now. So I think that's what KU is alluding to. So yeah, we're in a really good cap situation. We just need to hit on the draft a lot more. We're finally getting to a place where we're having all the draft picks we should have. I mean, we've got an extra second this year, and we've got an extra 6 and an extra, we got 8 picks now this year, and 3 of those are in the top 70, or 4 of those in the top 72. So I think that's what KU is alluding to, and I think it's a very good position. I think Ryan Poles' definition of his GM role will be this year. I mean, he's had some good starts. He's had the big trade from 1 to 9 and then 9 to 10, and it's the big draft where we traded the number 1 overall pick, and then he made a splash with Caleb in Rome. That was kind of the next staple for him. Now this year is really going to be how many quality draft picks does he take, and how many value contracts do we sign a Zach Bond somewhere like the Eagles did? So it's going to come down to this year for Ryan Poles. To me, this is where he really establishes himself as a GM with the cap and his decision making.
Let me ask you this off that question, off your statement, the question off that. Do you think that he will do that? Do you think he'll rise to that occasion? Do you think he'll do a good job doing that? How much? And as you answer that question, maybe give me a percentage of how well you think one way or the other. If you think negatively, 50%, 50-50, or 60-40, whatever.
I think he actually does a really good job of evaluating talent. Now, just like he said, there are opportunities. You're not always going to see that talent eventuate. Some guys don't come through for you. The only thing that worries me with him is when you hear the stories of Ian Cunningham having to hold him back from making a trade he probably shouldn't have traded. But I also like that he's taken his shot, as they say, take his shot. Like, he's willing to, hey, I love this player. I want to trade up to get Rome. So I like that. I think his talent evaluation is fine, though. So I'd say I'm 70% confident that this draft will go according to how the team should move forward with how he has done so far. I don't mean that like letter grade A, B, C. Okay, I give him a C. I mean, I'd feel more confident than not confident with Ryan Poles making those decisions this year in the draft and having a real good handle on where the roster is right now. I really hope he listens to Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen a lot, because they both know how to handle their offenses and defenses. And if they have a certain style of player they want, I hope he listens to them and he really gets keyed in on the draft. And it seems like he's the type of person that will listen to everything you hear from him. He talks about being a team, having the pods, having the pods to discuss different things. Mm-hmm. He sounds like the GM that will do that. So I do have confidence in him this year. And it's just going to be when it comes down to it, we're not going to see that result until next season. But this is a big draft for him, I think.
Well, there's a couple things I want to say. Just to piggyback on that, is that if the GM and the head coach work together, like we talked about earlier on this show about Ben Johnson and him working together, if the same applied to Flus and Poles, right, then wouldn't Poles have just gotten some of the wrong players for Flus? If Flus was interjecting and giving his valued opinion on pounding the table for maybe a certain player that we drafted, that like a Zach Pickens that didn't pan out because he wants to double down on the defensive line, or he liked that guy the most, that could be, we could see that change and a shift with another guy like Ben Johnson interjecting the correct eye for talent to go along with Poles.
I feel like Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen have a better grip on their entire offense and defense than Matt Eberflus did. Look at Matt Eberflus's history. He's really strong with his defensive backs and his line. That's really his specialty and where he came from. And really, if you look at that first draft, I mean, we hit Terrell Smith in the 6th round and Tyreek Stevenson in the 2nd round. I mean, those are good draft picks at those positions. So
Brisker
and Brisker,
Gordon.
Kyler Gordon, and I mean, there's so many good ones there. So I don't feel like we missed at the defensive back position at all. And I think I don't know if Matt Eberflus really had a handle of the defensive line, which is a huge reason I think he brought Eric Washington in. I think that's why he realized his weakness and his flaw, and he brought Eric Washington in. You know, how too little, too late, or I don't have mixed feelings about Eric Washington and how he did. You know, was it kind of cultural and everything had already fallen apart by that point? I don't know. But as far as listening to, if we're saying the basis of this premise is, did he listen to Matt Eberflus for what Matt Eberflus wanted? Well, you got Brisker and Kyler Gordon and Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith, and none of those are misses to me. Like those are all good picks. And if you listen to Matt Eberflus, then that only shows that he's willing to do that. So,
agreed. I want to talk about. I saw somebody in here talking about. I forget who it was. I apologize. Talking about he's out on Trey Smith now, and I want to pull a name out of it. I see you already, Glenn.
I just smiled at what you said.
You're already gearing up.
That didn't do anything. I'm just sitting here. I'm innocent.
I'm pull a name out of it.
Lines himself up.
Just sitting here putting his pants 2 legs at a time, guys. Come on.
That's why I was doing this earlier, because I'm like, I'm gonna get you on this one. I want to pull out a name that you guys have forgotten about. Everyone here has forgotten about this name.
No, we
and
haven't.
I'm pulling this name out of this hat because we sat here and did all 22 film breakdowns for a good majority of the season. And there's one player that came in on the offensive line. And when that dude was starting for us, when Tevin Jenkins was injured, this became the only fucking player we were watching the entire all 22. We could not take our eyes off of him, right, Foster? Could not take our eyes off. Bill Murray.
That's right.
That dude went to work when he played. There was the games. There was a couple of games in a row that we watched that that he was starting in, and the one game, dude, he not only took out his own guy and pancaked him, but then got back up, and Braxton Jones was having some trouble, so he came over and took out Braxton Jones' guy, and when that guy was on his ass, he went over to the other side and started helping somebody else out, and he was doing that all game, and he was playing at, Bill Murray level.
Hell of a comedian, love meatballs and stripes.
and he filmed the movie in Woodstock, where my family lives, so
And
this
Shorty,
guy
for all 34 snaps that he played this season. I mean, amazing.
go look at every single one of those 34 snaps, though, and tell me, right, J2K? J2K was there. We broke down the game film.
So what are you saying? Are you saying he should be the starter, or are you saying he should just be a swing lineman?
That's a good question. If healthy, and he played like he did in those 2 games, fucking starter all the way, dude, all the way.
This gets me as much as people talking about paying Will Fries to come in and be like a starter and acting like Will Fries, same situation. He's had more experience. Bill Murray, for those who don't know or don't remember, converted defensive tackle to the offensive line, so he's still a work in progress.
Yeah.
And what we saw, whatever it was, 40 snaps this year from him, it was impressive and it looked good. But then he got injured. You have too limited of a sample size to be able to give him the reins. That he's a restricted free agent, an exclusive right free agent. So we pay him a league minimum. So I see us going ahead and exercising that $1.03 million, $1,030,000 for his contract this year. I see us doing that. I don't see a reason why we wouldn't. But he's still developmental. You can't have him you have him as a 90-man camp body. See how he does. Maybe he makes a 53-man roster spot. If not, bring him to the practice squad.
Right.
I don't think other teams are going to be fighting us for Bill Murray, but it's great. Absolutely exercise that option for the exclusive right, bring him in for the league minimum, have him on the 90-man camp, and hopefully he can, give us some excitement and something to be, competing for one of those backup jobs. I'd love it.
Competition, and you never know, because like you said, man, he made the switch. It ain't going to happen overnight. He did look good.
Yeah.
We're doing all 22s every week. I wasn't even on that show. I was just watching it. He looked good on those, but like you said, Adam, there's not enough sample size to make a judgment on what he's going to be.
And who were those games? Who were those games against?
That's was my next thing. Is the competition. I don't remember what the competition was. Probably like Jacksonville. I don't even remember. I don't remember.
Okay, do you remember which games those were? Actually, I have them.
Was it
Carolina, Jacksonville, and what? Carolina was the game he played 37 snaps. I got it right.
Yeah, that's the game. That's the game.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna say anything.
All right. Well.
I love the excitement though, Shorty, because when you have it's like the Tyson Bagent thing with you. When you have someone who's that underdog story, we gravitate to that.
His name is Bill Murray.
And he's Bill Murray, and that's got to
resonate,
right?
It's meant to be.
But I do like the excitement of him converting, and it's fun. It's a fun
no
story
evil over there. Sorry, Adam.
And this is why I like BCP.
Glenn's like, Thank you for pausing and not shitting all over me, Glenn. I was telling my wife about this the other day. It was like, there's two people that I know exactly what their fucking response is going to be, and that's like the guy my best friend I've known since I was 8. Sometimes, like, I know exactly what he's going to say, but I'll ask him the question, and he will just lambaste me. I'm like, all right, well, sometimes he becomes an asshole though, because I've known him way too long. He's like, that's enough. I'm fucking sick of hearing about this shit from you, and I know exactly what you're going to say. That's why I almost do it just to provoke you, just to shit on me, Glenn. It's becoming
what? That sounded bad.
Dude, last night with the proctology stuff, and today you're getting into fetishes.
Sorry, now I'm doing this.
Oh man, I know. I get Homer-ish like that. I get, listen, Carl, remember the show when Carl was doing like, I think it was before the season and breaking down our interior offensive lineman. And he's like, well, if anything else doesn't work out, we can always put in Bill Murray. And I thought he was making a fucking joke, like a literal joke, like, okay, well, let's just throw Bill Murray in there. And he's like, no, look. I was like, oh, we really have a guy named Bill Murray on the team? And then, of course, I was like,
biggest Josh Blackwell meat writer on this ecosystem here.
That would be Carl for sure.
Let's make we'll make a clip. I'll say it right now. We'll use that. Confirmed biggest Bill Murray meat writer on the planet here.
206.22.
You're welcome. So yeah, 206.
I like the Josh Blackwell meat writing though. Like Josh Blackwell is low key, probably the best backup nickel in the entire league.
I can't disagree with that. Bill Murray was a legend in that one game, though, guys.
In your own
analytical
mind.
Guy goes, hey, Coach Gooden, go for it right here. Go for it.
Which that reminds me, I took some audio from the 670 The Score I need to upload for the show. It's going to be funny. So Bill Murray, we're all in, right? We're gonna re-sign him, have him compete at guard, right?
I'm in on exercising that ERFA for a league minimum. Sure.
That is a very pragmatic approach, and I can align with that. Yes.
I listen. I cannot believe Bob Ward is in our chat. I've seen Bob Ward in other people's chats, and I always tell him, literally, this is not a joke. My high school basketball coach was named Bob Ward. He was a legend. We call it the Bob Ward head fake. It was the and then he would just go up around you and do a little. My mother knows who Bob Ward is because Bob Ward became our joke, our running joke, our entire like high school years and beyond into our late 20s. If any, no, Bob Ward did it. Bob Ward did it. My mom would be like, Mom, what happened over here? She'd be like, Bob Ward did it. It was like the running joke. So I finally get to explain it to you, Bob Ward. If you're not were you the high school basketball coach of Round Lake? Did you coach Lester Wiltfong Jr.? Because I've never seen any other Bob Ward. And thank you for hanging out with us tonight. That's my side rant to Bob Ward. Bob Ward, the legend. He's a living legend in Round Lake High School history. Okay, so we're all good then. Good show, guys. You guys ready?
What, no super chats?
What happened to Foster?
Foster ducked out.
Polls got these results. Oh, excellent job, Carl. Will Tyson Bagent re-sign with the Bears? 75% said yes. Okay, I'm wrong again. Where does Justin Fields land in 2025? 43% said Steelers. I disagree. I put in the Raiders only because I couldn't think of any other. Do you want the Bears to sell the team? 82% said no. I actually voted no because I don't want them to. I would like to work out in a perfect world. Are the 2025 Chicago Bears comparable to the 2018 Bears? 64. Jesus, I'm wrong again. 64% said no. Should Braxton Jones be the starting left tackle for the Chicago Bears in 2025? 66% said yes. Well done, Carl.
You can't say that you're wrong yet. It hasn't happened yet. You might be in the minority that's right. And and then you can thump your chest and be like, screw all of you all. I was right. And 65% of you were wrong, or whatever percentage was. So yeah, don't give up hope yet.
2:09, 2 hours and 9 seconds. 2 hours and 9 minutes. Jesus Christ, I can't do.
And again, maybe you don't get anything right ever again.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah. Well, what happened to Foster? Every time we get ready to end the show, Foster just bails on us. We're like, all right, well, we're just gonna.
He went to go vote on everything that was, He's,
okay.
You like to stroke my pussy, darling?
Yeah, I had to get my votes in.
No. Man, we miss you, DVD. Well, guys, this has been a great show. I mean, we've exhausted all the conversation we can do for tonight. I like keeping it to like 2 hours. What do you say, Glenn? You like that? You don't like you wanted to keep doing a 3-hour show with us?
Don't know if I can do 3. Kind of like the movies. I don't know if I can stay up for a 3-hour movie these days. But again, as always, thank you guys for allowing me to share your platform, be on your platform. I appreciate it all 12 times. Adam, dude, I'm glad I got a chance to finally meet you, man. I've been a big fan, so continue doing everything you do, man. I'll definitely be watching and chiming in from time to time. So again, appreciate you and all you do. Foster's just never change, bro. And PJ, apparently it can't have more than one black person on the show at a time. So I see what's happening here.
Give it to us.
I guess there's too much DEI going on. So
Watch the bend. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He's here in spirit.
This ain't a fucking game show.
I joke and kid. PJ, I know you're there in spirit and everything, and so hopefully, if I'm invited back a 13th time, I'll get a chance to hang out with everyone as a collective. So, but again, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate it.
You know you will be. The honor is ours, Glenn. It's great to have truly made friends with you, and it's we always look forward to the shows that you join us. So please come back anytime. As many times as you would like. I love when I wake up in the morning and I get that text from you like, "Oh, can I join you this week? I gotta get this shit off my chest." I'm like, "Hell yes!" Whoever's on. Oh no, cancel that guy. We're having Glenn on.
It's cheaper than going to my therapist. So yes, thank you. It's been cathartic.
Adam, our newest member. Thank you for becoming a member tonight. Really appreciate it.
Well, I had to after you bought me onto your show tonight. Gave me a couple super chats, but it's not your fault, Glenn, that PJ is not here. PJ has avoided me the last 3 times I've come on the show.
I see.
So, PJ, I'm calling you out, man. Every time they said, Adam, come and join us for a little bit, you haven't been here, and I'm starting to take it personal, and I think it is personal.
You should take it
So,
personal.
If you're not here the next time I come over and hang out with Bears Country Podcast or Productions, PJ, I might have to ban BCP.
Well, now you're a member.
Wait, you should, Adam, because about 3 months after I started watching you, and I mentioned you to these guys once, PJ goes, "Man, have you seen that new guy, Adam Mason?" And I'm going, "Dude, I told you about him like 90 days ago." What? I didn't hear that. So he's been on you since early. Just letting you know. So I don't know what's going on there, why he's not showing up when you're here, but it is Glenn. It's not you, it's Adam. We know it.
Well, no, Adam. Now that you're a member, you get access to the additional member content that we're putting out for the pre-show green rooms and the production meetings. We'll be doing our pre-game, our pre-show green room, putting that out there for our members tonight too. For everyone that likes to just hang out with us and talk a little bit less Bears and laugh a little bit more. I don't know if that's possible, but we do make it happen. God,
that is the only reason I signed up for a membership today, was so I could hear PJ talking crap about me.
That's what I was going to say. You get to see him talking shit about you, and you'll understand why. You'll be like, that's why, yeah.
No, but I do got to say, Glenn, it was a pleasure for me, more than anything, just to come on and introduce to you and our first time interacting on here. Obviously, I followed your stuff forever, and I've really enjoyed watching you. But to interact, my pleasure, like huge pleasure tonight. And this is more selfish for me to come on and meet you. So I appreciate you. And I appreciate BCP putting it together and being a part of this. Thank you, Shorty. You guys are always in. Foster, I have to give Foster credit. He is the one who said, "Shorty, get Adam to come over here." And then I did. And now here we are.
That was back when Foster was our media relations man.
I'm fired.
Now we're going to see, now that I introduced you two to each other, every time we're going to ask Glenn to come on, he's going to be like, "Well, I'm going on with Adam tonight."
Probably.
And I was like, "Yeah, you know."
As long as PJ comes, I'm fine with that. PJ's got to quit avoiding.
I didn't like I wasn't so much in on this stuff behind the scene stuff, because I'm going, man, I wonder how many people are going to try to blackmail me now. But I just say stuff and don't even think, as we know.
Dude, you got plenty of live shit.
Thank you guys for coming on, both you guys. I mean, my pleasure, definitely.
Thank you.
Shorty enjoyed it.
No, this is
a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is every time anytime that we have both of you guys, or either one of you guys on the show, we always have a blast. And thank both of you for joining us tonight. And just to reiterate, Adam, you were there last year with our draft marathon, so we're looking forward to hopefully you joining us again at some point during our draft marathon again this year.
Put a little comment down there. I'm planning on going live for the whole thing again, but there's a way we can figure this thing out.
Well, that's kind of what my original idea was years ago. Like, everyone's going live, we should share links with each other, and we can have like one year we were doing it with the bar room where no, it was actually with Swifty, where we all popped out individually and hopped on with Swifty, and Swifty hopped on with us.
That was 2 years ago, and we did it with Swifty and the bar room and somebody else. We were all jumping shows, man. It was awesome. We all got chances to hop on everybody's show and vice versa. It was great.
Yeah, I was on with you guys last year, and I had Swifty on last year, and I had Samo on last year, and Carl, and we had all sorts of stuff going on. Let's do the same. We'll do the same thing again. It'll be fun. Big draft.
It's gonna be a blast. I cannot wait. We always have so much fun. It's literally a marathon. We're ordering pizzas and talking about what we're doing.
Like 7-9 hour shows.
Yeah, and the rounds we're not picking in, but it's a blast, and it's a hell of a lot more fun when everyone comes in and out. And like I said, we're going to put a link in the description for these shows for the draft, and anyone can pop in and out and hang out with us if they so choose. It'll be up to you. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it.
Fellas, I'm out. Appreciate it very much. Again, pleasure meeting you.
We're ending the show, so we'll give it a 1, 2, 3 Bears with us, and let's get the hell out of here.
All right, very good.
We'll see you guys next Thursday. Same BCP time, same BCP channel. Guys, 1, 2, 3 Bears. We'll see you guys soon. 1, 2, 3 Bears.
Bears. Thanks, Jack.